Won't have any distractions today, guys. No distractions. I have my laptop turned down, my phone's on airplane mode, and we're just going to have a nice little sit down and talk. I'm going to be off the top today. I have a few things I want to talk about. One of them including the virus that's going on. I have two beverages here. I got a Diet Mountain Dew, and I have a Lipton Diet Green Tea Citrus. So, welcome guys. Welcome to another episode. Before we get into it, this episode is brought to you by, just kidding, don't have sponsors. But if you guys could, before we continue on with this episode, I think 69 we're on, almost on 70. Mind-boggling. We're gonna be closing into 100 episodes here soon, which is it's wild. It's unique, man. It's cool. I never thought I would be doing this. Sitting here talking to a microphone for 40 minutes, 3 days a week, 2 videos a week, 2 podcasts a week. Yeah, I didn't see that in my future. So if you guys have an idea, if you guys want to do something in your life, if you guys want to create something, and you have an idea what you want, it could easily change. And if it does change, fucking chase that shit. And don't listen to people when they start asking you, what the fuck are you doing? Try to take everything in stride. Don't be an asshole to people who don't understand what you're doing. Instead, feel for them. But yeah, if you have something that you really want to fucking do, I say you just drive a fucking nail into the wall. And keep pushing. Just keep pushing. Keep posting. Keep doing your thing, man. And shit will eventually turn for you. And I'm in that situation. It's hard to see the light sometimes, but you know what, man? I fucking love it, so I keep doing it, you know? I mean that. I really do mean that. I mean it like in a sincere way. I talk to people every day in the evening time at my job, and the most common thing, there's a common thread with everybody. And the common thread is lost. Like they're lost at sea, right? So we have all of these if you're watching, please like, comment, just like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you're on YouTube. If you're on podcast, please do a 5-star rating, and a written rating. That would be awesome too. Subscribe to on Apple. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, no, I don't remember. Damn it, I was talking about chasing your things, doing your things, chasing your goals. So I talk to a lot of people every day, you know, at work. I think good conversations. Like yesterday, I had a conversation with a gentleman for 3 hours, and we just talked about his life. And it was a beautiful conversation. I loved it. I love talking to this guy. This is one of the gentlemen who, when we walk away from a conversation, I repeat it in my head all the time. It's unique. He's an African-American guy. And the only reason why I say that is because him and I sit there and we talk about each other's, we talk about racial stereotypes, and we talk about a lot of our own personal opinions on the causes of tension between races, and like the cause of societal systematic racism, white privilege. We get into some deep conversations, and they go on for like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. But we have beautiful conversations. And anyway, so I have a lot of conversations with a lot of people. And the common thread I always see, and something that I always have to see for myself, is when you find, so if you find what you like, if you find a passion of yours, if you find something that, let's say you enjoy doing, right? You enjoy doing, and you know, you're doing it for a few months, maybe a year, you know, you're doing it and you're enjoying it, and it's bringing you a fulfillment, a sense of meaning, right? A sense of meaning. And time goes on, and somebody somewhere finally critiques you on it. Like, what are you doing? Why are you spending all your time painting? Like, shouldn't you be out there doing something? and people veer off of the path of what they enjoy, right? So they stop painting out of a sense of fear that what they're doing, about giving the other person who critiqued them a check mark, right? So I think a lot of us, we spend so much of our time worrying so much about what we're all looking for, a check mark from people around us, which is understandable, right? It makes sense because life is scary, right? And if you're doing something that's, outside of the spectrum of what's typical and what you should be doing, it can be lonely. And loneliness brings depression and isolation. In a world that's so confusing, isolation is a death sentence. So it's scary. It's not easy. It's chaotic, and it's unique, right? I mean, I don't know anybody else who does a podcast personally. I know one guy, there's these guys, my podcast, I forget their name. I think Mindset Podcast. I don't know him personally, but I have a friend of a friend, and those guys kick ass, right? They post their shit, they do what they do, and people enjoy it, right? They're great podcasts. Do I listen to them personally? No, not often, but people love them, right? But it's different. It's unique. And those guys over there just keep busting out content, right? They just keep putting shit out. And I'm sure they get people all the time like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Stop doing that shit. It's weird. Like, don't you feel like an idiot? And it's like, that's something that you have to, that's something that will always continue, right? That's never going to go away. But that's like those are the moments that honestly I think make the journey of what you're doing unique. That's what makes it unique. That's what makes it fun, right? Because it's incredible when you get so lost in what you truly love to do, and you just keep on pushing on it and you keep on pushing on it. It's weird. You kind of get out of that area. You almost, if you're so deep in it, you hear people, like when I first started the podcast, I heard people saying things about it. A lot of it was confusion, right? A lot of people want to know what it is because podcasting is new and it's not something that people do, but after, 30, 40, 50 episodes, it just keeps pushing. Everything goes back to normal. And in your head, you got to remember this. In your head, you amplify everything tenfold. So when someone says something stupid about what you're doing, you in your head, you make it seem like it's the worst thing. That's enemy number one, right? You can't do that. You can't do that. You gotta figure out why you started it and just worry about that. Like, you cannot worry about everybody else is just going to have their little critiques because, that's what it is. I mean, that's the truth, and that's always going to be there. But that's okay though, right? Because sometimes they're right and sometimes you have to listen. So there's a lot of humility. But to think that my podcast would be here on episode 69, thousands of listens across all the platforms, it's crazy. 1,000 people listening, that's like a theater. So I have nothing but thank you to say to you guys, but I'm not going to bore you guys with just thank yous for this entire episode. Instead, I'm going to bore you with coronavirus. So for the past 2 months, probably a month, I would say everything in the world has been, all the news outlets, all the social media, all the memes, all the celebrities have been bringing up coronavirus. And it's gotten to the point now where it's officially hit a stage of craziness. A frenzy. It's now, corona is now a frenzy. And it's now a word that people say without actually knowing what it fucking means. Stuff like this, it happens all the time. It's really interesting. Like, people throw around the word Nazi. I'm reading a book right now all about Hitler and the Nazis. Not all about, but about 150, 200 pages, probably about 100 pages all about Hitler. Well, it's actually throughout the entire book he's there. But people have always thrown out words without actually knowing what they mean. So for instance, the flu, the regular flu has killed roughly 16,000 people this year, right? The flu. Something that has been happening so long that we got to the point where we kind of just stopped trying to figure out a cure for it. And when I say we, I don't really know who I'm talking about. I could be talking about the government. And by the way, guys, I'm going to get a little conspiracy on people, but, whatever. If you guys, I love listening to conspiracies. Do I believe them all? No. But are they fun to play around with? Yeah, absolutely. They're fun to play around with, right? They're fun. They give everything a little spice. Some of them aren't, like, conspiracies about 9/11. It's like, that's not really fun to listen to. I mean, I'll listen to them, but they're kind of depressing as shit because a lot of people died. But then some of them are just, kind of funny. Like this one's interesting, right? Corona's, it's an interesting one because it's such a frenzy. Especially when you have things like the flu. You have the flu, which is something that we know kills thousands of people a year. We have cigarettes that kill thousands of people a year. We have alcohol that kills millions, maybe not millions, but I would say close to a million. No, definitely a million people a year. Maybe not a year, but there's a lot of people dying from causes of alcohol. I mean, it's goddamn toxins you're putting into your body voluntarily. We're such silly chimps. But my point is we have these things. We have these things that we just kind of took a step back and we stopped trying to figure out a cure for them. We shoot people up every year with a flu shot, right? That's kind of something we do. We all do that. I got the flu. I got the flu this year, and I didn't die because I'm lucky to live in where I live, where there's hospitals everywhere. And I know that the flu is something that can easily be beaten, but you're running into this weird situation. So what I'm saying is that we have these things that we know kill people, but we kind of just stopped fixing. We just kind of did our best way to push it down as much as we could and defend against it as much as we could. And I'm not saying that there's not a cure for the flu, but all I am saying is that our technology is so goddamn advanced. It's so many aspects. But it's not like when it comes to like illnesses, like the common cold and the flu, it seems like we should be able to protect ourselves against it a lot more. It seems like 16,000 people shouldn't be dying each year, right? And it just kind of seems like that. And then you hear about this coronavirus. And you hear about it in China at first, which is always interesting because China's always been a democracy, but they're actually a communist. Like, I'm reading this book right now about the history of the communist leader, Zhao Zedong, I think his name is. I should know it because I'm reading all about him. But he took up China as what he pretty much copied it as was Joseph Stalin, who ran communist Russia, right? And so they're the roots run deep in China when it comes to like a communist motive, right? In my head, I started just getting anxious about, like, I have a speech tomorrow in one of my classes. The day you guys are watching this, I should be done with my speech. Hopefully it did well. It always goes well. I just get so fucking nervous. Like, I had an Excel exam, and I was so nervous I was going to fail it, but I got an 89 on it, or 87 on it, and I was just like, of course I did, because I study. I work fucking hard. Anyways, so China's always been a communist country, right? And they still are to this day, and, they have democracy tendencies, but at the end of the day, you don't really have freedom there. Unless you are part of the Communist Party. If you're part of the Communist Party, game over. I mean, then you're good, right? You're probably good. You're probably safer. But then again, I've never been to China, so I'm just speaking on what I've heard, what I've read. But you hear, so then you start hearing about this thing called coronavirus, and it's like, everyone at first thought was like, what the fuck? Well, first off, Corona, that's a weird name. And then as time goes on, everyone's ignoring it. And then it seemed like, and this is when it gets all wacky to me, because it seems like every 2 to 4 years we have a new something that's popping up around us. And it seemed like this year it was coronavirus, right? 1 second. Sorry about that. It seemed like this year it was coronavirus. It seemed like this year we have coronavirus, Whereas before it's been like Zika. You guys remember Zika? And then we had Ebola, and then I think we had swine flu. And it seems like they always come up around the time. They always come up, first of all, they always come up around winter, right? Because it's cold and, bacteria grows when it's colder and damper areas rather than if it's hot. So they always come up during the winter time. And they always come from, poor places, obviously, because less healthcare, less ability to take care of yourself. But the time frame is always weird, right? And think about this. Time frame's always weird. It's always right around the time that we're ramping up to have elections, right? And this is when it gets a little conspiracy, and I think I might start losing people here. It seems like there's always something that is developed or really pushed hard to distract the public from what's going on in politics, right? And it's gotten, and for me, when it comes to Corona, I don't think anything of it, right? Because I look at the numbers. I'm very much of a number guy. Like, the numbers show that it's not killing a lot of people, just not relative to other things, other sicknesses like the flu, which is killing 16 to 20,000 people a fucking year, and the Corona I think is up like near 3,000, 4,000, and it just seems so weirdly timed. It's coming from China, and it's just a weird situation to be in. And as we get closer and closer to elections, what's going to happen, mark my words, timestamp this, what's going to happen is you're going to see a fall off of Corona. They're going to develop a cure for it. Or what they're going to do is just start classifying Corona as the common cold, because apparently the common cold is the symptoms between the common cold and Corona are basically similar. And all this is just what I'm hearing and, listening. I not really from the news, YouTube videos and whatnot. And apparently they're just super, super similar to each other. And the people are dying. Like the person who died in Washington was apparently she's like 93 years old, and Corona was a cause of her death. Yeah, it probably was, in the same way that if you're 95 years old and you come down with a common cold, your body shuts down because it cannot fight anymore, And I think, and it's reasonable to say that the biggest people who need to worry about Corona are the people who have a immune system that doesn't work as well. Like my girlfriend, she has a lacking immune system. Like it doesn't work as well because of POTS, dysautonomia, which is autoimmune disorder. But other than that, it just doesn't seem like a big thing. But it sounds like a big thing. Like this, the science shows that it's not a big deal, but it seems like, I don't know. And I could be completely wrong. This could be the thing that ends human civilization, but it just doesn't seem like that. And it's putting people into a frenzy. And when people go into a frenzy, that's when shit gets weird, right? That's always the goal, is you get people into a frenzy. People go wild. People lose their minds when they think that they have to lose their minds, right? They will. They start following people. They start listening to people. And people go in like the psychosis, right? And it just seems like that's kind of what our society's in right now. We're in a psychosis, right? It started off as a joke. It first started off as something that we didn't even pay attention to. Then it started off as a joke. And now it's at a point where it's such a frenzy that I saw a stat on CNN where I think like 30% of people that they took a study from believe that Corona beer has something to do with coronavirus. So it's gotten to the point, and these people could just be fucking frat kids, just completely, ripping shit at the reporters. But even if it's 1%, you're like, what the hell, because people are in this panic. I have people losing their mind everywhere I go. Like not allowing to shake hands, like not holding the door for people. Like if you cough, people like look at you like you're a fucking asshole. We're starting to blame politics, right? And this is when it gets weird too. It's because I think this is like the ultimate goal of like coronaviruses or anything that comes up around this time of the year. It's always intended to cause chaos with politics, and it's somehow they make Corona political, which is like how can Corona possibly be political? This needs to be strictly medical, right? This needs to be worked through the CDC. Like if it's as bad as it is, I don't trust Trump to fix it. I don't trust Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders, if they're going to be our presidents, to fix it, right? I don't trust those two at all. I don't trust any of them, especially not Trump, man. But like at the end of the day, it's really fascinating to see that it seeps so far in our society that we blow it up into this thing where we've had one death in the United States. One death, maybe 6. I don't know which one it was. Either way, it's pretty much nothing. As we were sleeping last night, the more people died in drunk driving accidents and died of corona within the past 3 months in the United States. And then you could say people are dying overseas, and I'm sure they are, but their economic, their societies aren't as equipped as this country, you know. And it's sad that that's true. And don't get me wrong, it's sad that people are dying, but I always get so skeptical on things like this. And it doesn't bother me until it starts affecting people around me, right? When people start becoming assholes, and when people start getting in frenzies. And there's something about that is my own personal issue. I don't like it when I get annoyed when very smart people start becoming delusional with like certain things, like this coronavirus. It's just, I don't know what to think of it. I don't really care about it. I forget about it until someone brings it up to me and like asks me how I feel about it, and I always say, I don't know. Wash your hands. Like, I don't know. It's just, it doesn't seem like the virus that would kill us all, right? It doesn't seem like the thing that would absolutely just demolish us all. Like, that seems like something like anthrax. Like, anthrax would have been perfect for that. Dude, and also, what if coronavirus was a man-made thing and was released just to interfere with the elections, right, in China? Like Russia, Russia did the whole Facebook thing, Cambridge Analytica, they hacked the system, and they swayed people's votes, and they made people vote for people that they didn't want to through like propaganda on Facebook, and that kind of got shut down. Like, they kind of got broken up, and that's a big no-no. You can't. So that got shut down. Social media got shut down. So what do we do next? Who do we want in office if you're China? Do you want Donald Trump, who's blasting them with like terrorists and shit? Or do you want like probably a Democratic Republic, or not, like Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders, who you have a better opportunity to keep trading with the United States so you can become a superpower? I mean, they're already a superpower, but when you can become number one, some people would say U.S. is already number 2, but I still think we're number 1. But wouldn't you want to do that? But if you can't do it through social media, there's not many options. So what do? You make this whole thing up about coronavirus, or it's real, but you take the symptoms and you just make it go fucking crazy. You show propaganda of people of drones dropping like spray on the streets. You have people like screaming. You have people protesting. You have people mask on all the fucking time. And then, so you release all that. And then boom, once it hits the United States, you go right after Trump. You start saying Trump's the cause for this. He's ignoring it. He's the reason that it's expanding so much. He doesn't care about it. He's not paying attention to it. And then what do you have? You have debate, right? You have arguments again. So China is sitting back there in whatever city, Beijing or Xinjiang, I think it is called, or Shogun? No, fuck, I don't know. And they're just like, look what we did. They caused chaos in the United States. They caused chaos throughout the whole world, dude. They caused absolute, utter chaos without actually having to cross borders, without actually having to do anything. It's crazy to see. And it's so interesting to just watch. And it's so interesting being in my situation, somebody who doesn't like, I'm always weary when people give me a handshake because, germs, right? Germs. But I'm not losing my mind if somebody gives me a handshake because I think they have corona. I think they're like disrespecting me, definitely not doing that, But who knows? I mean, maybe it could be a real thing, and maybe I'm an asshole. Maybe we're all gonna die, but who knows? Yeah. So, yeah, that's the corona rant. I just wanted to get that out of the way. One other thing before we get out of here, I wanted to speak about. So I was having this beautiful maybe not beautiful, maybe just a very unique conversation with somebody. And we were talking about death, right? Because that's one of the things that I always talk about. I'm always talking about death because death to me has always been so fascinating, right? And it's so fascinating because it's guaranteed for us as far as we know, and we know about it, and we can kind of predict when it's going to happen, right? Unless there's like a radical, freak event, right? We know it's going to happen. And we have biomarkers in our body that tell us when we're going to die. And you kind of know when you're going to die. That's why they have ICU units, because everything that predicts death is pointing up. It's thumbs up. Yep, you're going to die because this, and this. So we put you in a place to basically ease your pain before you do pass away from this earth, right? And that's kind of, so we know what death is. We know when death's going to happen. So for a lot of people, it's scary, and sometimes for me, it can be a little scary when I really let my brain just kind of go haywire. But most of the time, there's two ways I can rationalize it. Well, there's one main way. The other one, I have a theory about being dead and dying. Instead of just one death, there's multiple deaths, right? So this one I want to just touch on real quick. It's the idea that throughout your lifetime, you can die hundreds or thousands of times, maybe just twice. And what I mean by that is, as far as we know, death is when your physical being shuts down. I think science still argues if it's brain or if it's heart. I think it's heart, right? Because, who knows? Because your brain tells your heart to pump, but if your heart doesn't pump, your brain doesn't function. So who really knows? In some cultures, you might be dead, but you're not pronounced dead until the priest or whatever your religion is, the person who is the closest to God, so like the priest of any other religion, pronounces you dead, and then you're dead. So I'm not really sure. I think they do it by heart in like the medical world, but it could be different for it could be different. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But that's what we think of death, right? Because death is that. It's when our physical being is gone and all of our senses are shut down. And when we do move a little bit after death, when we go through rheumatosis or rigor mortis, it's subconscious. It's just our body's acting out, but we don't have physical control of our body. Like, when something dies, if you like go fishing, you kill fish and it's like jumps around in your fish tank or like your bucket with no water in it, like an hour later, it's going through rigor mortis. Its body's just shutting off. Everything in its body's kind of going back to just kind of dropping. Once again, not a scientist. I probably sound like an idiot for most of you, but that's kind of how I think of it. So that's what death is. So that's what we think of death. When someone dies, they're gone. They're gone from this planet. Well, I've had this theory for the past couple months, I would say. Probably 6 to 8 months. I've been thinking of death as something that's not physical. Like, it is physical, like your body does shut off, but from the time you're born, which is interesting too, from the time your lights shut off permanently and you can't be awake, you're not going to be awoken. You go through stages of your life where you die, right? You go through emotional, mental deaths. You go through an evolution. You become something that you can't even recognize from the person before. You get a fucking 6-figure job. You have a beautiful family. You have a PhD in biomedical engineering. You have a beautiful wife who just loves you and you love her. And 2 months before that, you were homeless, just got out of prison, getting off of heroin. That is death. You died. You died and you elevated and you were born again into a new world. The only thing that is similar, between the recovering heroin addict and the person who's has a beautiful job, a beautiful family, a beautiful life, a beautiful future, is your physical being. And even that's completely different from a biological standpoint. from the way your hormones are moving, from the way your neurochemicals are moving. They're moving at a different rate too. So if that's even different, what is the same? Is it your bone structure? Is it just the skin on your body, which is probably cleared up now? Nothing is the same. Nothing the same. You're a different person. You're a different thing. All you have is the memories of what you were before. That's like the placenta being pulled out of the mom when you're born. And that eventually goes away too. Maybe a little bit stays in there, but you're completely a new person. You've died and you left this place in your life. And you were born again into this world. But then what happens? 10 years after that, you get a fucking divorce because you found out she was with a guy for 2 years while you guys were dating for the last 10 years of your relationship. You know, your daughter dies tragically in a car accident. And because of that, you got fired from your job because you weren't mentally there anymore. And you fall apart completely. You start drinking heavily. You start smoking cigarettes. You start going to strip clubs. All those vices that you left in your previous life are starting to come back. Well, you died again. You died again. You left this world again. You left the person that you were, and you were born again. But you were born in a shitty fucking situation. And this is how I think about it. The reason why I think about it so much is because the person I am sitting here right now at this table talking to you guys a year ago was unrecognizable. I did not recognize this person. I did not. I couldn't have a 3-hour conversation with somebody about a relationship and give wise advice. I could not support a relationship. Dude, I could barely support my own brain. My brain had its fucking hand across my neck, choking me out. I was negative. I was critical. I did not like talking to people. I was, there was a point there where I was suicidal. There was a point there where I hated everything. I hated myself. The past 12 months of my life have been the 9 months of a human in labor. And I was born. I was born. I died. A person, I still have memories. I have to keep those memories of how much of a mental broken person I was. Emotionally damaged. I have to remember that if I want to continue on in this life. And that's like something that I've been telling people. And it's interesting to see people's responses because the first response is like, whoa, I never thought of it like that. Because we're always taught that death is a one-time thing, right? Death is a one-time thing. And after that, you're done. But what if it's not? What if even our physical being passing away, like when the lights shut out, when the neurons in our body stop working and our brain stops and our heart stops, what if that is just birth? This is when I'm getting really fucking weird on you guys. But what if that's birth? So we know that before I left the womb of my mother, I was alive for 9 months. I was developing. It's a zygote. I went from a zygote to a human and I came out and blah, the physical world. Cool. I get it. Awesome. Good. Cool. What if, this is crazy. This is mind bending. What if the current life we're living right now, the everything, if you're listening, all your senses, everything right now. What if what we're doing right now in this world? I hope I didn't lose everybody. Because if I did, I'm about to lose everybody. If I haven't yet, this will. People will be lost here. Getting a job, going to college, graduating, accomplishing things, getting trophies. What if this is just our 9 months in the womb? Because we don't remember being in the womb of our mothers. We can't remember that. At the time, we probably did. We We probably were aware of what we were doing. But then when we entered the world, we forgot it all. We have consciousness of what we're doing right now. I know where I am right now. I know where I'm sitting. I know what time of the day it is. I know what time of the year it is. I know what I have to do in the future. I know what I've done in the past. I know I'm talking to you guys. I know hundreds of people are going to listen. I'm aware of this. I'm completely aware of this. I'm not delusional. And I'm also aware that if I live a healthy life, I could live for 90 years. 90 to 100, 120 years, depends on how technology is. Or potentially forever if my boy David St. Clair up there has the answers. Still haven't read that book yet. I can't wait to read it. What if this is just the womb? What if death in this world is just birth? What if this is just birth, man? What if when we die in 90 years, we die and we pop out of this fucking just regular woman or whatever the creature is, but let's just say a woman. We all just pop our heads out and there's like another doctor just sitting there and just pulling us out. Pop. And then you just go, wow, you start crying, right? You start crying, you look at your mom and you look at your dad and then boom, you forgot everything from this previous life. Everything's gone, right? Everything's gone. The same way that when we were in the placenta and we were being born and we were in the womb, and once we came out, boom, everything was gone. We couldn't rationalize everything. What if that is what death is? What if death is just us coming out of the womb again? Again. And everything, our lights, why do the lights go dark? Why does our body shut down? Because your mom's, your creature's just pushing and pushing, and then you're gonna pop out because the lights go off because you gotta forget all this. You can't take this into the future. You'd be a crazy person. You can't take your experiences into your next life. You don't want to be that crazy motherfucker. You don't want to be that crazy person. So your death is just your brain shutting off for a second. Your memories are being lost, and you pop back into the world, out of the womb, and you're doing it all over again, not knowing that you've already done it before, not knowing that you've already done it 10 times before, hundreds of times, thousands of times before. And if that was the situation, then no wonder evolution makes sense. No wonder, because you take a few memories, right? You take a few memories with you, and if you do it enough, and you have kids, and those kids have kids, then evolution's passed down that way. Isn't that crazy? I don't know. Maybe that is crazy. Maybe I just had way too much weed. No, never have smoked weed, which is crazy because that's where my brain goes. Like, I don't know. I just think that's such an interesting way to view everything, right? It's fascinating, right? It's fascinating. Like, what if we die thousands of times before our lights go off? And when our lights go off, that's just our brains dispatching all of our memories. So when we're born again into another world as the same body form, just a different thing because we don't have memories, because that's what makes us is memories. We don't seem like a crazy person because you do not want to have those memories when you pop back into the world, right? That's not what you want. You don't want to be that crazy motherfucker. Imagine like being born in another world and for some reason You start talking about World War II. You start talking about Adolf Hitler. These people look at you like, what the fuck are you talking about? Adolf Hitler never existed, bro. Like, come on, what are you doing? Don't say that. What if your brain forgot to delete that image? Forgot to delete the image of Adolf Hitler. And now you're in this world talking about Adolf Hitler. You're fucked. It's not cool. You can't be doing that shit, man. But yeah, I got a lot of studying. I gotta do an 8-minute speech, so nothing crazy on social media. I actually chose to do Live Fit, which is kind of cool. It's like a clothing company based out of like California. But you guys already watched this, so clearly it's up. But I gotta do that. So I'm gonna cut this podcast off now, guys. Girlfriend's coming back for spring break. I couldn't be more excited for that. I'm so fucking excited for that. I love seeing her. She's fucking amazing. But you guys, if you guys did make it this far in the podcast, please just leave it a like, comment, subscribe. If you guys have anything you want to say about like me just like talking about Corona, like my crazy death theories and shit like that, just put them in the comment section below. Leave a rating on Apple. Written rating would be awesome too. I love you guys. Thank you so much for continued support. I'll catch you guys in the next episode on episode 70. See you.